Hey Matrix Live, I'm here today with some special guests from Dresden University. They are Martin and Christian, and they've been working on setting up a Matrix server for the use of the Dresden University students and staff. So chaps, why don't you say hello? Who's who, first of all?
Hey, my name is Marvin, not Martin, but actually I don't mind.
And I'm Christian. Hey.
Hey, sorry Marvin, that was a huge mistake. Sorry about that.
Fine.
And what do you do at Dresden University?
So my role is to be a synergy enhancer. So I help people from different disciplines to work together. So I'm looking on the communication of them, set up workshops and perform them. And in 2018, we realized that people more and more interact digitally with each other.
Mm-hmm.
So we had larger interdisciplinary projects where people wanted to send links to news to each other, links of any activities out there on their specific topic.
Yep.
And they didn't have the colleagues on their floor of this office. So they had colleagues on the other side of the city. So then more and more people asked for help in this topic, how to interact with each other.
Right.
And apart from email, which is
Yeah.
obviously possible as well.
Yeah, I mean, email is the basic standard. So that's fascinating. And I didn't realize that a university employed somebody who was dedicated essentially to encouraging interdisciplinary research.
Well, this is possible because the TU Dresden is one university of excellence of Germany.
Uh-huh.
And therefore we have this nice opportunity to support such activity.
Yeah.
We are called the Synergistic University.
And I didn't know that. I did know that academia was very focused right now on interdisciplinary because it seems to be somewhere that a lot of more interesting research is coming from. But to have somebody dedicated to powering that step is actually super interesting. Thank you. And what about you, Marvin?
Actually, I'm just kind of a student or employee at the university.
Uh-huh.
And last year, during the Corona pandemic, Christian just asked me if I like to join the Matrix team, the administration team, and actually kind of a hobby a little bit. And I said yes. And since then, I try to administrate and help the running instance of our Matrix deployment.
So let's talk about when did you get started with the deployment? Was that this year?
No, we talked to Matthew in autumn of 2018, and we started to look on different opportunities, possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
We tried in test installations Zulip,
Yep.
which has a nice threading. We tried MetaMost, RocketChat, and Matrix.
I see. Okay.
And we had, in the beginning, we started with around 100 scientists working on some working groups. And we presented half a year later all our results to the CIO of the TU Dresden.
Yep.
And later on, we got a go for a stable installation. So in autumn 2019, we set up our stable server, which is the same address like now.
Yes.
And yeah, so we were ready before Corona came.
So that's fascinating to me. So one thing I just want to call out there is that after talking to Matthew, you investigated other solutions. I think that's not quite the same.
No, that was in parallel.
That's very.
So during this first month where we explored all the possible tools, we also talked to him and other ones.
So what was I mean, we can be retrospective now and ask what were the reasons for choosing Matrix, and what were the features that you were prioritizing during that process?
So we realized very late that some of the other tools, or mostly all of them, were isolated tools, which fit very well for example, a school or a small business company. But for a university, that was not possible. We have collaborators all over the world, so we need to interact with them as well. So we needed a federated messaging system. And that's why that was one of the most important aspects for choosing Matrix.
Right, and in which case there isn't I mean, as you've already brought up email, but there isn't a huge amount of other options in that case. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's genuinely really interesting. So let's think about universities, I guess, can sometimes have a large political aspect to them. Although, Christian, you're already saying that this is your actual role, is to investigate this problem. But I wonder, was there any pushback from the controllers at your university to say, well, maybe you shouldn't be using such strange technology?
Of course, people were in the beginning not so sure about spending money on such a topic is worth the money. So people, also a lot of teams got their own solutions. They already had smaller solutions like WhatsApp or Slack or other things for their projects. But so we had a very heterogeneous landscape of such islands of communication teams. And more the people realized, especially later on in 2020, that that's not the solution. We have to set up something for the whole university.
Certainly.
So and that was okay. The people realized this, and then we had a lot of support for this.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, I love to hear the fact that you presented a solution, and it was seen as a useful way of solving the problem you had. So I actually expected to hear a lot more. Talking to people in your position, I've heard a lot more confusion and drama in those times. And how about the technical deployment? So is this something that's hosted in an existing university data center, or are you setting up something specific?
Yeah, actually, our data center just provided us by like a virtual machine with some CPUs and a little bit of RAM. Actually, currently we have like, I guess, 8 CPUs and 16 gigabyte of RAM, and the setup is based on a very handy Matrix Docker Ansible deployment from Slavi. Maybe one of you already knows it, and this was the first time when we started to get a system running, or actually not me, or all the early fame goes to Marcel and Christoph, who started the technical part. And this deployment, this Docker Ansible deployment of Matrix, is still in use with some minor or bigger patches to get like a larger setup running. But yeah, that's like how we started, and it was quite easy for them just to set up a instance.
Yeah. So with the changes that you've made to the playbooks, have you contributed those back to Slavi's project? Or is that
currently, there's a larger merge request online, which is on the exception level, like how to set up multiple Synapse workers.
So you've made changes to the workerization part. Okay, yes.
That it's configurable in this setup.
Cool. That's thrilling as well to see that people are using Slavi's work for something like this. Cool. And let's talk about scaling. You said that you're using an 8-core server with 16 gigabytes. For what size of deployment are you using right now? And what is your target size? I mean, I assume your target size is all 45,000 students, but that's a very ambitious topic.
Yeah, actually, I'm not quite sure if it's so easy, but actually when it got starting, when like the user amount got started, we just asked our data center providers with a little bit more RAM and maybe 1 or 2 CPUs more. I'm not totally sure about it. But yeah, actually this is the current setup where we can like run at about like 3,000 current daily users.
Okay.
And yeah, and I think if it's get more on the limit, we just ask the data center provider with a little bit more CPUs.
Right.
Power.
So your solution here is to add to the hardware.
Yes.
So you're at 3,000 3,000 DAU right now, which is already pretty fantastic. Was there a ramp up to that, or did you find that it jumped to that and then plateaued at 3,000?
Actually, it's quite interesting. We have like a statistics about it, like when the user level started, and it's always like on the semester begin when all the new students will come in, because there are some like faculties where just say, hey, there's a matrix room where you can get all the new informations about the upcoming semesters, and then it raises a lot at the beginning, and then it starts slowly.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of lectures or some lectures going to the matrix as well, and they will invite at the beginning of the semesters all the students.
Okay.
And
yeah, so they jump in for the first information, and then not all of them will stay, so you'll see a drop off on there. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And overall, have you seen an increase in 2020? When did you start to really push it out to students?
So this was in the summer semester of 2020, yes.
Right, okay, so you're only really now seeing the results of those pushes. Ah, excellent.
Can you see this?
I can. What I need to do is I will make my recording smaller so that everybody can see. There we go. Interesting.
Yeah, the first ramp is just because we started monitoring, I think, during the summer last year, and it had to collect all the accounts, and that's why there was no accounts before.
Yep, of course. So the semester started. Gosh, and you can really see, that's actually a genuinely really fascinating graph. Thank you for sharing that. Because, you can see the markers where the semester starts. And presumably just before that, there's a little bit of a ramp up as preparation kind of emails are sent out to students.
Yeah. So the first Monday of the semester was hard. So
right.
This was the steepest step.
Did you find a problem with technical capacity, as in performance, or did you find that there was a problem with providing support to new users, or something else?
Yeah, we had some technical issues, like when a lot of new users just jump in, that like we had a problem with our RAM, and then the virtual machine just got overloaded, and we had to restart Synapse, and then it works fine again.
Yep.
But that was just like just workaround to solve this issue when the CPU just got overloaded.
Right, I see. And what about giving support? Because these are students, maybe they're not used to open source software. Did you find that they found it easy to use, or did they present a lot of questions about why doesn't it look exactly like WhatsApp?
Okay, we have like a room, matrix room, which is just a matrix support where a lot of people can just ask questions. Hey, where can I find this? And like all the other members of this room, just like community, like supporting them, not just us. And we also have like a support email address from our university where some first level support just got some basic answers to common questions.
Yeah.
And we also provide bilingual documentation.
You do.
About our matrix setup.
So who wrote this documentation? Because this is featured on TWIM this week, and we're all extremely impressed with the quality and thoroughness of this documentation. So where did this come from?
So this is also prepared, and this was also prepared by our team. Mm-hmm. The matrix admin team is around 4 to 6 people large, more or less people with other work as well.
Yep.
And we can show this.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, it's a very impressive.
And the thing is that it's accessible for everybody and clonable for everybody now on GitHub as well. So if you want to set up a documentation in your institution, you can just clone this.
Superb. GitLab.com/matrix-tu-dresden.de. I think we'll put that link in the description rather than expecting people to read that out. Chaps, this is all really impressive. Let's think about. I'm missing my notes. So features. We talked a little bit about the support burden, but I suppose that you're mostly using Element for these users. Yes. Was there anything that was problematic about Element, missing features, or something that you would need to focus on in order to get to the next level of users?
For example, the threading is a point which is often asked, or for example, LaTeX is available for some weeks now, but it was asked for LaTeX a long time ago.
Latte? Sorry? Oh, LaTeX. Sorry.
LaTeX.
LaTeX. Yes, of course.
So we have a lot of scientists that need LaTeX.
Right. Yeah. Great. Sorry, before we got on this call, we were talking about. I can see them both over there drinking Club Mate. So I had drinks on the mind. I was confused. But yes, latex support. So there is actually there are various in-flight plugins for that. I think it's going to be actually very soon for you. Yeah, it's always interesting to see that different groups of users have different specific requirements. And latex support. And threading is also very high on the roadmap. I think it may come in this summer. Yeah. Something after FOSDEM.
Another important thing is the export of a room, because teachers that have the room for only one semester that want to somehow export the room.
Yes.
For later on, maybe in 2 years they want to have a look in it.
Yes.
That's not so easy right now.
No, right now you need to use some third-party tooling. And actually that tooling is fairly good, but having it be a separate command line system that you need to run is not probably ideal. I wonder if that's the kind of thing that somebody like Dresden's Matrix department, maybe they could wrap that in a web UI, because that would probably get you what you wanted and at the same time feed back into the ecosystem. So maybe I'll pressure you guys to work on something like that in future. And let's talk about something you talked about in the very beginning, and I think that Christian, this is going to be very close to your interest, is the need to communicate between other universities. First of all, are you seeing your users achieve that goal by communicating between departments and universities? And also, have you talked to other universities about their approaches to their use of Matrix?
So we have contacts to the regional universities as well that use Matrix, and we had some exchange with them, yes. And another one was from the Kosovo university that asked us for some help.
Wow.
But institutionalized that we didn't have any exchange. And yesterday we started joining one of the rooms of the German admins.
So that's very peculiar to me. I find that it's really interesting that it's all Germany. Why do you think it is that Germany is so ahead in this sense?
I thought Netherlands and France are more adopted to Matrix.
It's true. France in the government are using it, but in terms of universities, I think that Germany is probably somewhat ahead. I don't know if there's a reason. I've been told that an interest in privacy and what we call data sovereignty, I'm sure there's another word for it.
Might be, yes.
So, I wonder if there was any other topics you wanted to cover.
I would just like just one thing mention that we get a lot of questions from our users, like how to use the end-to-end encryption, and this is probably because they never thought about end-to-end encryption, and they are now confronted with security key, security phrase, and all this stuff, and what is it backup, and this is currently a lot of questions we're getting there, and try to help them over this part. And actually, for me, I'm happy about it that they start getting in touch with end-to-end encryption, but seems to be a hard start for some people.
Do you think that that's something conceptual for them, or is it just because the UI is not very user-friendly? So, for example, is the whole idea of just security and encryption is new to them, or maybe the problem would go away if the interface was better?
I think it's not the whole idea about encryption. It's more just like the usability, because I think they're using other messengers which are encrypted as well, but they are never confronted with the backup or something, because they just back up their key into the cloud or something.
Yes.
And it's just like at our university, we just tell them maybe you can use the desktop app, that they not lose their sessions because they're closing the browser tabs or just log out, and then they're losing their sessions and they cannot remember the passphrase or cannot find it on the desk anymore. And
which in another world where they just need a password reset is almost a non-issue, but where they've lost an E2E key, then suddenly it becomes very important. And Christian, I admire how much you're scrolling. Just the volume of the research to do the documentation is impressive.
Yeah.
I think Christian just showed some explanation about the end-to-end encryption and how to set up their instance where we try to support our users just to get started, where to find the desktop clients, how to set up your security backup, and what is the difference between the security key and the security phrase, and all these things. We try to solve this question answering by just try to put it in the documentation and just to link them, that we don't have to say it every time again.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's the purpose of an FAQ.
Yeah.
This is a question that's only just occurred to me. Why did you focus on creating bilingual documentation? Do you find that your users benefit from the English version, or is it for completeness?
So we have a large basis of international scientists and students at TU Dresden, so they will not read the German documentation.
I see. Okay. So the one final point I had was, how do you expect to go from the 3K students that you have today to the 45K students that exist as your potential target market? If we imagine you as a commercial concern, then you have a large market to adapt to, and I wonder what your thoughts were about growth.
So one idea is to write an email to everybody of the university to present the documentation and say that we already have 1/3 of the university involved in this messenger system, so maybe the other 2/3 could also join.
Absolutely.
And also to present scenarios where it's useful to use it. So we want to have some small statements of a spread amount of people of the university from different disciplines, teachers, scientists, students, that present in a small sentence, like a testimonial, how they use Matrix, what they would suggest, where it's useful. And I think with such a campaign, everybody will realize it.
That's great. I mean, I love the notion here that you're producing testimonials and marketing material in the form of emails and documentation. It really is like conventional marketing. So it's really interesting to see how you approach this.
But for example, such testimonials on posters would not work right now because nobody is on the campus.
Yeah, so that's another interesting thing. I suppose that your growth has increased because of the lack of people on campus. Yeah, I can see that too. Chaps, thank you very much. Were there any other topics you wanted to cover?
No,
totally
thank you.
Then I want to say, Marvin and Christian, thank you very much for being involved in Matrix, and thank you for appearing on Matrix Live.
Thank you too for your nice chat.
Good luck.
Thanks.